All right, I want to take some time to talk about kit. Reason being is because honestly, this is like the most fleshed out, kind of best put together version of kit that I've ever had. I work really hard at my 9-to-5, and honestly, it's a hobby of mine to put together things that are going to fit my lifestyle. And for the first time in my life, like, I've been able to kind of dedicate some adult money to figuring out this stuff, fleshing it out, using it in the real world, and making the kit for me that fits all of the use cases that I have. A couple of things, like if you're thinking about building out a chest rig, or you want to put together some kit for yourself, to keep in mind is to not make the same mistakes that I made. You know, when I first started wanting to put this stuff together and I started to nerd out about gear, I wanted to build kit that I saw in movies or in video games, or what my favorite YouTubers were using. But realistically, those guys are doing jobs that, as a civilian, I'm not doing. And so the solutions that they had put together themselves were for jobs that were not applicable to my lifestyle. So what is my lifestyle, right? Like, occasionally I'm in backcountry, I go camping, hiking, things like that. And so, believe it or not, as militaristic as this kit looks, it's actually perfectly scalable for camping and for backcountry activities like what I do. And so that's where the motivation for these things came from. So kind of stop looking at your heroes on YouTube and movies and video games, because those guys are probably not doing the same thing that you're doing in your personal life, and find your own answers to kind of, you know, your own problems, right? For me, it was hiking, it was overlanding, it was backpacking, it was being in backcountry. And so that's where this stuff comes from. So also, out of the gate, most of this stuff is from Spiritus Systems. So Adam over at Spiritus just keeps on releasing and engineering products that fit kind of every niche that I have. So it's easy for him to separate myself from my hard-earned V-Bucks. But, you know, so we kind of want to go over that, right? So the whole chassis is the Thing 2 from Spiritus. The Thing 2 is a flat, placard accepting chassis with some wraparound MOLLE webbing. It's really great for bolting on accessories on your driver and passenger side. And because it's flat up in the front, you can kind of choose whatever placard or hanger that you want to build off of. And I have the Spiritus Mk5 back over here. So this front portion is just a kind of a tack-on portion, but this rear section is all the Spiritus Mk5. And the Mk5 has a bunch of MOLLE webbing in pretty much every possible place, and so there's all kinds of attachments that you can put onto it. Now, originally my Mk5 had a CCS pouch. It was a big kind of like dump pouch right in the front, and that old adage of if you have space you'll use it was definitely proven, because I just packed it full of stuff. And what happened was the CCS pouch ended up getting so bloated and over encumbered that I couldn't lay in the prone, because the CCS pouch was this big appendage that was just hanging off the front of my kit. And so I kind of took a hard look at what I needed to carry, and I took a bunch of stuff out. A lot of it was superfluous, and it was just excessive things that I probably would never use. So I took the CCS pouch off, and then Spiritus released the Temp, the triple elastic mag pouch, and it was the perfect fit. So I've got the Mk5 in the rear, and then the Temp up front no longer have the CCS pouch. And so the Temp gives me the ability to hold 2 more magazines. And then in the third magazine pouch, I'm actually not using it for ammo. I've got a quick deploy tourniquet, and then lashed on the inside are some permanent markers, because you need that if you're dealing with a tourniquet. And then I've also got a Sunto compass lashed in there as well. I do use these rigs for hiking and camping. Sometimes you need a compass for that stuff. And then on the outside here, these are the only items that are not from Spiritus. They're 511 magazine pouches, and I've got a multi-tool in here, and then lashed in is a North American Rescue trauma shears. If somebody gets hurt, whether it's a gunshot wound or a backcountry wound, you got to shed those layers pretty quickly, and sometimes the only way to do it is to cut through them. So having trauma shears is really nice. And then off to the side, lashed, is a little spud pouch from Chums. This is just a little silicone waterproof pouch, and then on the bottom is a quick release microfiber towel. So for a nerd like me that wears glasses all the time, it's perfect, because sometimes in backcountry you're hiking a lot and you're sweating. And then of course you can use it to clean off your optics on your rifle. Binoculars, here I'll get to in a second. And so this is just a nice little elastic pouch that holds the microfiber towel. Off to the other side here is just a quick deploy flashlight, and I've got a single blade, or single fixed blade here that I keep in lashed in here as well. So mag pouches are way more than, or useful for way more things than just mags. Any like small little thing that you need to have quick access to, it's a great place to put them. And then bolted off to the side even further is, obviously, I've got my Nalgene water bottle here, and then I've got a GP pouch that holds my binoculars and a cold weather beanie, because even when you're in the desert, like in Big Bend, for example, I was there not too long ago, during the day, it's a beautiful day, and then in the evening, it's nice to throw on a beanie and just have that extra warm layer. Because I took off the CCS pouch that was originally in front here, I needed some extra storage. So beforehand, I had the Spiritus Sack pouch, and it was a small little pouch that was perfect for fitting like an IFAC or something like that. But because I removed my front CCS pouch from the Mk5 placard system, I lost storage there, but I was able to slim down up in the front. So now I can go into the prone and shoot laying down. But because I lost that storage, I wanted to move storage somewhere else. So I kind of shifted it down, and then the sack pouch was no longer big enough. So I bought the brunch box from Spiritus. This holds medical sweet treats, little power bars, things like that. And because it has these elastic loops up in front for breaching charges that I'll never use, because unfortunately I'm not cool enough to be a breacher, I just kind of lashed on some gloves. When you're in backcountry and you're hiking, sometimes those rocks get pretty jagged. You don't want to cut up your fingers and your hands. Or if you're just kind of like working on your vehicle or whatever, things are hot, suppressors get hot. Working on your vehicle, sometimes you need some gloves, especially if you have soft little bitch hands like mine. It's nice to just always have some gloves on you at all times. So in my radio pouch, I've got a Baofeng UV32. Baofeng is, people are kind of split on whether they're actually useful or not. But I've been hiking an upwards of a mile, 2 miles, non-direct line of sight with literal rolling hills and mountains in the way between me and the other person on the other side of the radio. And these UV32s have enough horsepower to punch through all of that stuff. I have been extremely impressed by the UV32s. They're high horsepower, they're kind of unregulated. Programming them are a pain in the ass, but once you can get it going and you understand the system, they work really great. And I've got a Disco 32 extension cable here, so I've got it routed to my little boom antenna that's mounted on my shoulder here. I, unfortunately, due to medical reasons, was never able to join the Air Force, so LARPing as a JTAC with my own hard-earned money is the closest I can get. So Spiritus released this like bolt-on addition to any of your H-harness chest rigs. The EUD, in my opinion, just kind of a dumb, like overly complicated military acronym for the end user device. Could be a tablet. In this instance, it's a cell phone. I am experimenting with mesh networks and deploying ATAC, which is like a tactical communication, location and coordination application for iPhones and Android. So I'm experimenting with that, but realistically, when you're camping and you're on the trail and you're hiking, it's nice just to flip down your little cell phone and use it as a nav board. You can track yourself using GPS. I've got a Garmin InReach, so it's nice just to do that and have all that stuff available to you. I'm one of those guys that carries my cell phone in my back pocket. If you're hiking on the trail, you fall over, there's a good chance that your phone in your back pocket is going to get damaged. So it's nice to have it up here away from anything that might damage it. Plus, like I said, it's very easily accessible. You just flip the board down. Yep, that's where I'm at on the trail. I have X amount of miles to go. Boop, and you flip it back up and you're good to go too. So that's the chest rig in a nutshell. Now, getting into a rifle, this is probably one of the rifles that I've had for the longest amount of time. It's a Geissele 14.5-inch gun. And it's finally at the place that I had always imagined it over the years that I've been shooting it. This gun has seen many iterations. I've shot and trained with it a lot. There was a time when I thought 14.5 inches was way too long. And then I got a 10-inch gun. And I was like, this 10-inch gun is just not long enough. And then I went back to the 14.5-inch gun. And now I have an 11.5 as a daily driver, and this 14.5 just seems to, a bunch of stuff keeps moving in the background, but this 14.5 is just always available. Like, it just always seems to keep going back to the 14.5. I've got a Silencer Co. LBP low back pressure Velos suppressor. As a left-handed shooter, the ejection port on a rifle is right there in my face. And if I want to shoot a whole day or even a short range session, like, I don't want to come out looking like a coal miner. I also don't want to come out with cancer, right? So having a flow-through suppressor that shoots all the gases out the front and keeps it out of my face when I'm shooting is a godsend. Like, the new suppressor technology coming out nowadays in 2026, it's just a whole new world. And so there's all kinds of really cool options available for left-handed shooters. I've got the articulating Magpul bipod that the internet seems to hate, but for my use as a civilian, it works just fine. And then I've got that old internet kind of trick where I've got some 550 cord tied to the legs, so you can quick deploy. This doesn't really get used a whole lot. I've got the homemade barricade bag that I use more for shooting from a supported position, but every once in a while I'll bolt this thing on, get the reps on it, and get used to it, just kind of hanging off the gun. I've got an old PEC on here. This thing is a piece of crap. I've been experimenting with the SMS Trinity as a laser, and that thing is, in every conceivable metric, a better laser than the old PEC 15s. But I got this off of the back of a truck one day, and it keeps on working, so I'm going to keep using it. It is huge. And because the PEC is so big, it hangs off the M-lock rails. It kind of hangs off the front, it spills over on the sides of the rail. So sometimes if you're using a PEC and you want to run a weapon light, it's hard to get the weapon light tucked up under the PEC. And so Reptilia Core sells this torch, 18650 battery body, and it helps to bring the light as close to the PEC as possible, given that the PEC's dimensions are so big. I only use a pressure pad for the PEC. I do not use a pressure pad or a rail-mounted pressure pad, I should say, for the light. For the light, I just use the momentary cap on the back of the light. That's for light discipline and just the way I like to use the lights. I don't want to have an accidental discharge with the light, and then for whatever reason, 1200 lumens in the middle of the night really draws attention when you don't want it. So that's why I use the pressure pad or the momentary on the rear. Who is it? Overbore Systems or Stoic Solutions. Stoic Solutions. They make a barricade bag for $175 or something like that. As much as all of this costs, believe it or not, I don't want to spend $100 and something bucks on a sand-filled bag. So what I did was I had an old 511 dump pouch that I wasn't using because I don't really use dump pouches. I cut off the base and then I just stuck it onto the bottom of the rail. So now this homemade barricade bag is the perfect solution for me to drop my rifle onto a hard surface, and I can shoot from a supported position. It works really, really great, and I can just rip it off. Like, it's super easy to put on and put off, and then it also covers up this ARCA rail underneath the M-lock rail here on the handguard. So if I want to shoot from a tripod, I can just scoot this over. I can just literally just move it over, and then I can mount to the ARCA rail here, right? So that's my little homemade solution for that. I've got a Magpul RSA connected to a Blue Force Gear U-loop. It makes for an extremely solid and mostly silent sling connection point, and there's tons of range of articulation, and it doesn't make a lot of metal on metal noise. I'm pretty much past using QDs in any capacity on any of my guns anymore. This is always kind of the solution that I put together for it. 20 round box mags are a vibe, whether they're Magpul P mags or this OK Industries mag. This is an LWRC lower that has just been beat to hell and back, as you can tell. It's pretty beat to shit. And then Geissele Super Duty upper as well. Reptilia AUS 30mm cantilever mount for the optic. It's just an old primary arms optic, 1:8, and then the HS403, the Holosun red dot up top, the T1, T2 clone, right? Yeah, I could definitely get some shit for using like off-brand optics, but like, man, these things have just been beat up pretty well. Been through a lot, spray painted, covered in camo form duct tape or camo form tape, just trying to break up the pattern a little bit, and honestly, they just keep on ticking. I've got a law folder as well in case I need to put this, I don't know, somewhere in a bag or whatever. And yeah, just a nice padded sling from Tier 1 Concealment and Flatline Fiber Co. They still sell those on Tier 1 Concealment's website. Nice little M81. And a buddy of mine sold me the M81 furniture. Didn't even know it existed until he said he had some laying around. And I said, you know what? Let me pick it up for a few bucks. Added to the little camo aesthetic. And this is basically the gun that I had in my mind when I was originally starting out to build this in the first place. And it's really nice to see all of my kit finally come to fruition. Everything is exactly the way that I want it. And I've been training every step of the way, adjusting to every change that I made. And this is the best version of kit that I've got right now. So for sustainment, day hikes, things like that, all of this stuff is kind of exactly the way I want it to be. And can't wait to train with it more. And I think you guys should put together your own kit as well. Have any questions on this stuff, I guess, just let me know. Thanks.